We'll look at a little bit more complicated example now, and that's going to be based upon leap years. Now, it's easy to think that to work out what year is a leap year, you just need to work out if the year is divisible by 4, and that's pretty much true around about now, and that's because the year 2000 was a bit of an exception, and it's going to be a long time before there is another exception that's different to that, and it was a long time before that too. The actual rule is this: years that are divisible by 4 are leap years, provided they're not divisible by 100, in which case they're not. However, if they're also divisible by 400, they are again. So that means that the year 2000, which was divisible by 400, was a leap year. But the year 1900, for example, which was divisible by 4 and 100, is not a leap year, and that's because it was divisible by 100 and it was not divisible by 400. And similarly, the year 2100 will not be a leap year either, because it's also not divisible by 400, even though it's divisible by 4, but it is divisible by 100. Now, if that sounds complicated, that's because it is quite complicated, and expressing this is going to be relatively tricky. So we've got an if statement here that does it, and it's actually a little bit more complex than the ones we've seen before, because the condition starts here and it ends here, and it uses the and or operators that we saw in an earlier chapter and video. So what's actually happening is this: first of all, we check to see, is the year divisible by 4? Now, the way we do that in Java is we use this remainder operator, which we haven't seen before. So when we write year %4, we're saying work out the remainder when you do integer division by 4. Well, if you do integer division of the year, which is set to 2000 up here, then that divides exactly by 4, so this will be 0. If we put 2001, then the remainder will be 1 and not 0. Now, you can see how this is going to work, because once we've got this remainder operator, we can essentially see whether there's any remainder after dividing the year by 4 in this case, and over here 100. Okay, so we're basically saying, is the year divisible by 4 and not divisible by 100? Okay, so if both those two conditions are true, then the year is a leap year, because it means that, for example, 1996 is divisible by 4, but it isn't divisible by 100, so 1900 would fail this test. However, we also need to add in a condition to make sure the year 2000, which is divisible by 400 and is a leap year, is treated properly. So what we've added on is an extra condition here. We're saying, or the year is divisible by 400. So let's go over this again. The first part says, if the year is divisible by 4 and not by 100, it's a leap year. Alternatively, or if it's divisible by 400, it is a leap year. And then we print out the message, it is a leap year here. Notice how we've broken the condition here. We haven't put this all on one line, which would be very long and overwrap the space, and we've broken it at convenient space, and we've indented it a bit extra to show that it's sort of kind of part of this one here. Otherwise, the else condition is that we print out it's not a leap year. So if we run this, we find it says, it's because I tried to compile it instead of just running it. There we are, is a leap year. If I change this to 2001, save it, compile it, and run it again, we say is not a leap year. The year 2001 isn't. Similarly, 1900, which you might have thought before this was a leap year, actually isn't. And once again, I'm typing the wrong thing. And I have to compile it, so, because I've changed it. So now it says it's not a leap year. So this is a way of successfully combining a number of conditions. We can use and and we can use OR, exclusive OR, we can use NOT to build up a logical expression that's either true or false. Now notice one thing I said in an earlier video is you treat AND like multiplication and OR like addition, and for that reason Java will work out that it needs to do this expression first, work out whether year is divisible by 4 and year is not divisible by 100, before it goes and does the OR with this. Some people would say it's good practice, even though Java will enforce that, to actually go and put the extra brackets in anyway to make it really clear. You need to be careful because you can overdo these brackets. In the next video we're going to look at an alternative way of doing this.